Sundays a month, we do a Bible study, and we use the Hudson Oaks meeting room at the police department, fire department, and it varies in.
Hey, I want to call the meeting to order tonight. It is Tuesday, February 24th at 6 p.m. Dina, do we have a quorum?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, thank you. So I'd like to have Chaplain Ken McKay come and do the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
We going to pray?
Yes.
All right, let's do that. Holy Spirit, thank you that we're gathered together in your name to have your will to be done. Pray over Parker County, that your Holy Spirit would fill Parker County, root out the evil. Fill this room, Holy Spirit. Come in and be at peace with us. Lead us and guide us into truth. March over our first responders. Protect them. Protect the council, the mayor, and everyone in charge and leadership. Pray for divine guidance, Holy Spirit, that you bring guidance to every decision, that you bring order and peace where there would be division. So, Lord, we ask this in the name of Jesus, through the blood of Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor
Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
I always bring extra.
I'd like to read Psalm 133:1. How good and pleasant it is when God's people lie together in unity. So I'd like to talk about unity. I want to address an important issue that this council can be unified on, and that is to agree that supporting local businesses leading to increased sales tax revenues is always a good thing. I feel that the city needs to do a better job promoting our local businesses, and that includes me, because higher tax sales revenues will lessen the tax burden on our homeowners. I think we can all agree on that. And I want to say I appreciate everybody. I have a lot of people coming up to me in public saying, I see what you're going through. And they say, I'm praying for you. I love that. Prayers, please, for myself and our city is lovely. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the agenda up because we are going to take 20 and 21. We're going to go to executive session and deal with one issue, and then we'll come right back out and we'll go to our public comments. So I want to call executive session at 6:03, and we'll go and then come right back. So it is 6:04. Thank you. Okay, it's 6:47. We're back in open session. I want to move on at this time. We'll hear from public comments. I'm going to read some points posted on every agenda item that we'll adhere to tonight. To address the city council, residents must complete a speaker's form and turn it in to the city secretary at least 5 minutes before we start the meeting. Each speaker shall approach the podium, state his or her name and their address before they speak. The public cannot speak from the gallery, but only from the podium. Thank you for adhering to our governance policy rules for public comments. Please do not raise your voice. Speak respectful to everyone up here. We would very much appreciate that. And please step to the podium when your name is called. Roy Ramus.
Hello, my name is Roy Ramos. I'm at 101 Trinity Drive here in Willow Park. Mayor, council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Like many citizens, I am deeply concerned about the lawsuit filed by Aledo and Fort Worth over the annexation of the Dean Ranch, also known as the Beal property. Let me begin with the fact that residents must keep in mind the Beal-Dean agreement and the annexation decisions that triggered this lawsuit were approved by a previous council before Mayor Palmer ever took office. These actions were taken long before the current administration, and the consequences are now unfolding in real time. I must also express my disappointment with the council members, past and present, who supported this deal without the caution, diligence, and public engagement that such a major action required. Annexation of this scale should be approached slowly, carefully, and with full transparency. This council has shown it is capable of moving slowly when it suits their purpose. Yet in this case, the city moved with remarkable speed, and now we are facing the fallout. My concern extends beyond the past. With appointed council members now in place, I worry that the same ill-advised path may continue. That decisions with long-term consequences will be made without the scrutiny, patience, and public involvement they deserve. And I want to be equally clear. As a result of these past actions, I cannot and will not support the councilmen who are now running for re-election. Their decisions help create the legal and financial uncertainty we are dealing with today, and accountability matters. Aledo and Fort Worth argue that Willow Park annexed land that was not contiguous to our city limits. Whether we agree with that claim or not, the legal reality is simple. If a court rules that annexation was not contiguous, it could be declared void from the very beginning. That means that the land was never legally inside Willow Park at all. Every approval, every plan, every expectation tied to that development could be wiped away. That is not speculation. That is the legal consequence of a void from the beginning ruling. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Amy Fennell.
My name's Amy Fennell. I live at 1304 Saddle Trail here in Willow Park. And I'm here to talk about the state of this city and the disarray that it's in and the disappointment that I found. I became involved with city politics as an activist in 2016 when Willow Park was a mess. And then I won a seat on council in 2017 where I served through 2020. During my time, the city began live streaming meetings. I did this. We repaired water infrastructure that had been neglected by previous councils, and we brought in water from Fort Worth to provide for current and future demand. We built relationships with neighboring cities and became a bastion for business with double-digit sales tax increases year over year. In short, we built a city. Willow Park had been an embarrassment to Parker County before 2017. Whenever I left in 2020, we were no longer an embarrassment. The city finally reflected the goodness of her citizens. I was honored to be part of it, and I left council feeling proud to have ushered in a new era for Willow Park. Then you, Mayor Palmer, were elected, and within 9 months of you being sworn in, much of what I helped achieve has been unraveled. Shortly after you took office, people started calling me, asking me for help and an understanding on what was happening. I told them I didn't know anything about you, and perhaps things would settle down with time.
Amy, let's don't
Then
get
you
personal.
called me.
You can talk
Then
about
you
the
called me
council
back
as a
in
whole.
late June because you felt overwhelmed.
Amy,
And specifically wanting help with
Amy, I
Brian
ask
Grimes.
you to not
Everyone
attack
knows
one
I'm
person.
not a fan of Grimes,
Okay.
and I tried to
Quincy,
help you
can help
navigate
her?
those waters.
We're not
I
going to do that.
advised you to win
Thank
the
you.
trust of the council.
Step away. Step away.
So
Doing that.
the gentleman who
Step
had
away
his
now.
thing scripted for
Help.
him
You can help her.
could badmouth the council.
We're going to take a recess. Thank you. Take a 5-minute.
Way down, agenda item that we ordered pizza or something. Keep that as a running.
Okay, it is 7 PM. We're going to start our meeting again. Thank you very much. Next, we have public comments. We have Jean Martin. 5 minutes.
Yeah,
TikTok.
a pretty tough act to follow, I guess. Madam Mayor, gentlemen of the council, I'm Gene Martin, I'm a resident at 700 Kingsgate Road for the last 38 years. Now I'm here to ask a question. I'm going to take a small aside, though, because I was on the council in 2016 into 2017, and I was really pleased that over the next 3 years, the sales tax revenue to the city did double, at least double, every year, and it was great. And the reason that doubled was because of the Wilkes development that we put in place in 2016. Just saying. Okay, so I do have a question. To what extent does the city staff or city council consider input from the city's advisory boards and commissions? Now, I know you can't answer that question because that'd be a little complicated and that'd be debate, and you all can't do that right now. On February 10th, this council took action to fill seats on the Planning and Zoning Commission. There was some discussion on whether to retain the existing members or to allow other Willow Park citizens to participate in the city processes. The discussion did not mention qualifications of candidates. The final statement suggested that the nature of business currently facing the city required that we keep the experienced people on the P&Z Commission, and then you voted to reappoint the 2 members who were already there, citing, quote, "at the recommendation of city staff," unquote. The next agenda item addressed approval of a developer's agreement. This particular DA included provisions that mandates explicit site development details and very detailed zoning definitions. And most of those zoning definitions, or a lot of them, were not currently documented anywhere in the repertoire of Willow Park allowed zoning. Thought that was kind of interesting. And after some discussion, that developer agreement was also approved, again citing the recommendation of city staff. The P&Z met last week and approved the zoning that was in the development agreement with no changes and at the recommendation of city staff. A question arises as to the experience needed on the P&Z, that is, the important experience needed to keep the people on the P&Z. What is the experience needed on the P&Z to rubber stamp city staff recommendations and the provisions of a development agreement pre-approved by the city council? Now, I don't think you can answer that one either. I might have missed something. So here's a simple question to see if maybe an important step was missed. Because I know it's not a requirement, but you knew this stuff was coming through that development agreement. And did anybody think to maybe put it on the agenda for the P&Z to give you comment before you approve the development agreement? So, is it or is it not a fact that the Willow Park Planning and Zoning Commission was given the opportunity through an agenda item for a P&Z meeting to discuss the merits of proposed content, requesting zoning changes that include development concepts not currently in use in Willow Park. This requires a simple yes or no, because I could find no evidence that such an agenda item exists. So, could somebody answer that, please, yes or no? Was the P&Z given the opportunity to give you comment on the attachments to that development agreement?
Do you want me to answer that?
Sure.
Pardon?
Planning and zoning does not review development agreements. They are planning and zoning.
So that was a no?
No,
Thank you.
it's a development agreement. That's a different document.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we have Shannon Brown.
My name is Shannon Brown, and I live at 201 Chuckwagon Trail. And my family's been in Willow Park since the 90s. Over the years, I've brought agenda items before mayors and council and have attended and watched many council meetings. I'm here tonight because I was deeply disappointed and frankly troubled by what occurred at the February 10th meeting. Our fire marshal and emergency management coordinator was publicly reprimanded and spoken to in a manner that was unnecessary, unprofessional, and inappropriate for this governing body. Even more concerning was the suggestion that the emergency management coordinator had been operating improperly. Based on state law, that assertion is incorrect. The Texas Disaster Act of 1975, Chapter 418 of the Texas Government Code, clearly establishes that the mayor serves as the emergency management director and that the city may appoint an emergency management coordinator to administrate the program on the director's behalf. On July 12, 2022, John Schneider was formally appointed to serve as fire marshal and emergency management coordinator, and he's been operating within the authority allowed under state law. In practice, direct communication with the governor during emergencies is coordinated through the Texas Division of Emergency Management in Parker County. The statement made at the last meeting, whose call is the governor going to take, was dismissive of existing procedure and reflected, in my opinion, poor leadership. I want to be clear. Members of this council choose to serve in these roles. City employees did not choose public scrutiny. They chose careers in public service to support their families. They deserve to come to work each day in a professional and respectful environment. When leadership publicly belittles staff, it creates a hostile culture that spreads quickly and damages morale. Willow Park has strong, capable employees. As a citizen, I expect everyone on this council to treat them accordingly and to model the professionalism this community deserves. Quoting Mayor Palmer from a recent Community Magazine article, February is a reminder to lead with kindness, compassion, and respect.
True.
Values that make our community strong. And whether you're celebrating with a partner, family, friends, or neighbors, love shows up in many forms through service, generosity, and caring for one another. I'm grateful to serve a city where people look out for each other, and I wish everyone a season filled with appreciation, connection, and heart. I hope that moving forward, actions and words will be aligned. The next topic I would like to address is the potential discussion of allowing a data center in Willow Park. While I have not independently verified the details, I've been informed that the topic surfaced at the most recent P&Z meeting. Based on what is publicly known about the data center impacts, including infrastructure strain, noise concerns, and limited to direct local economic benefits, I do not believe that this use aligns with the character or long-term interests of Willow Park. I strongly urge the council to proceed with extreme caution and to consider following the lead of the city of Weatherford in prohibiting data centers within city limits. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. So next, we have Carol Bracken.
Good evening.
Evening.
I'm Carol Bracken. My husband and I live at 73 Crown Road. We've been residents of Willow Park at that address for 29 years. At the last meeting of this council unanimously decided to table the charter submitted by the Home Rule Charter Commission, despite legal advice to the contrary. In light of that decision, I urge the council to terminate its contract with Messer Ford. If Andy Messer and the other attorneys from his firm that reviewed and approved that charter as legally compliant were wrong, or if they erred in advising that the commission was not subject to the Open Meetings Act, then the city of Willow Park needs better legal representation. If, on the other hand, they were correct, then the question arises as to why the city council failed to heed the advice from their hand-picked city attorney. The city finds itself embroiled in a $500,000 lawsuit with the much better resourced city of Fort Worth and the city of Aledo, apparently over an ill-considered annexation. It is critically important that the city is represented by legal counsel that this city council respects and will heed, even when the advice given is not what you want to hear and or does not comply with your political agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to 2, to approve the regular city council meeting minutes for January 13th.
You have one. Did you get?
Marcy, I'm sorry. I have you on 4. I have you on 3 and 4. I'm sorry.
Yes, I was, good evening. Marcy Galley, 500 Squaw Creek Road. I was going to see what Jean had to say first, and then come and ask my questions, because I don't believe I can ask questions during the public hearing. So the questions that I have are related to the Dean Ranch mixed-use plan development. Let's see. Under the base zoning districts, I see where multifamily planning area, it says a maximum of 1,800 multifamily dwelling units are permitted in the multifamily planning area. Is that true? Do you know if that's true? I mean, this has not been updated, correct? Is this the right?
I think. I don't know.
Is this the right draft I'm looking at? Because all the pages have draft on them, but there's no red line copy in there. Does council know? Does anyone know?
Tony?
The document in the packet is correct.
Okay. So the reason this caught my eye, I hadn't seen it before because I've read through the pro forma of the original development agreement, and I actually redid the whole pro forma myself last summer. It only showed 1,000 multifamily apartments, but this here says it can be as many as 1,800. So that is 35 units per gross acre. My second question is for commercial, the commercial development standards. It says maximum height not to exceed 150 feet for C commercial district. So if this is accurate, I'm assuming that we will allow a commercial building that is 10 to 12 stories tall in this area. It also talks about data centers and the data centers. So my concern on this, a specific use permit is all fine and good, but they have to be re-upped either every 1 year. I think ours is every 2. But really, once you build a 750,000 square foot data center, I'm not sure what other use it would have, other than maybe a big box store. My concern on this, so I echo the lady that spoke earlier, and I think a data center does not belong anywhere in Willow Park because we are not big enough for enough of a buffer from the residential developments. But in here, we say that a data center can be placed 200 feet from any lot platted for residential use. Only 200 feet. And the data center can be a maximum of 60 feet high. Multifamily buildings, height regulations, maximum 5 stories, not to exceed 70 feet. That's all very concerning to me, because when I served on council, our units per gross acre was no more than 8. I know that the city increased that to 18 in 2020, I want to say. Going 35 per gross acre is obscene. So I'm very concerned with this development agreement and the planned development allowable uses. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's everybody that signed up there. Consent agenda. Item 2 is to approve regular city council meeting minutes for January 13th and the 22nd. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the regular city council meeting minutes from January 13th, 2026, and the special meeting minutes from January 22nd, 2026.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay. Moving on to public hearings. Item 3 is a public hearing to consider a request for change in zoning from Class 2 Residential R1 Single Family District to Class 1 Special Purpose PDBD Planning Development District for the Belledine Ranch Development, being a tract of land in the F.H. Hammond Survey, abstract number 673, the heirs of the Francisco Sanchez Survey, abstract number 2346, and the HT and BRR CO, survey number 5, abstract number 647, described in the deed to John Henry Dean III, recorded in volume 1441, page 424 of the official public records of Parker County, Texas, containing approximately 317.732 acres, more or less, and within the city of Willow Park. The time is now 7:17. We're opening the hearing. Okay, no one's stepping forward.
Bill Green, I live at 224 Vista Drive, up in the forgotten part of Willow Park. I like to say, because apparently it has been, by a lot of things that are going on there. But I've got one question on all these zoning things. Why wasn't this all put together whenever they put their original plans together? What is going to be the cost to our city of our tax dollars and able to do this, if there is any cost to it? And what benefit do we get out of making all of these zoning changes for every one of these ones that are on here? Very quick and easy question. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any more comments on item 3? Okay, so it's now 7:18. Closing the hearing. Now we're moving on to item 4. It's a public hearing to consider a request to change in zoning from Class 3 Business C Commercial District and Class 5 I and IH20 overlay district to Class 2 residential R3 multifamily district for the Christ Church West Assembly of God, being the owner of the Lot 1, Block 2 of the Fawcett addition to the city of Willow Park, Parker County, Texas, according to the plat thereof, recorded in Cabinet D, Slide 144, PRCT, within the John H. Phelps Survey, abstract number 1046, Parker County, Texas, containing approximately 6.03 acres, more or less, and within the city of Willow Park. This property is located next to the Willow Park Village subdivision and is the current location for the Well Church. The time now is 7:20. We have speakers wanting to come up. We have Kathy Kinney.
Hello, Council, Mayor. My name's Kathy Kinney. We live at 138 Muirfield Drive, Willow Park Village. And we've been in Willow Park we're going on 37 years now. Haven't lived where we do live now the whole time. But anyway, we've had lots of neighbors over the years we've been here, and I haven't ever heard one of them say, I really want some apartments in Willow Park. We don't want them. We have expressed that before. Many residents have. We've got them. We've got enough, okay? And this 6.03 acres, from what I understand, that's what they want to do. They want to put an apartment building there. And I've been told it's possibly might be 4 stories high. Bay Hill Court will face those apartments. And I know you live over there, Nathan. I would think you wouldn't like this either. It's commercial right now. I guess commercial for like, not any more nail salon, but for little businesses, strip mall or something there, where there wouldn't be ongoing things all night long. And with apartments, that's how it is. It's just the way it is. Anyway, I don't want it there. People that we know do not want it there. I told as many people as I could about it. We told the HOA about it. She sent an email out, or he did, I think. And I don't know how many people responded to it, but if you really care about the citizens, in particular us, I mean, we've already got another subdivision, Country Hollow, and then, what's the other one? Hunter's Glen. You live there, right? Okay. We don't want apartments around us, okay? We don't want them. We don't want apartments. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have Candy Nicholson.
Hi, good evening. My name is Candy Nicholson. I live at 210 Bay Hill, and I'm in the Willow Park Village. I am a member of the Willow Park Village HOA board. I joined that board so that I could help impact things in our community. I have been in the Willow Park neighborhood for over a decade. I'm not politically minded or trained. That's not my forte. What I do is I learn to rely on those of you that are. So in this point, I'm relying on you to make some decisions on behalf of our community. And so I want to share with you my opinion on some things to bring to your attention as you consider some rezoning on number 4 in the, from the residential feedback portion. I understand that they're asking to be a multifamily residence, and as the lady mentioned, it was apartment complexes. Our infrastructure in this area is not set to handle this. There's a number of different areas that are not up to speed to be able to handle this many people in the community. In that area, it is my understanding at this time that there is plans from developers to put in 110 housing unit right there. Across the street, another housing unit that will be over 110 additional units. And across the street from that will be an emergency room. So you're talking about putting hundreds of people in a very small space that does not have the capacity to handle that. We have water rationing 365 days a year in Willow Park. We can't my water bill, per se, is more than my electric bill, and always has been. That's unfortunate. We shouldn't have to deal with that. We have some of the highest water bill rates in the North Texas area, and we do not have the capacity to take on an additional 200 homes in addition to emergency services and things of that nature at this time. In addition, we have services. Our police department does as good a job as they can for the Willow Park area. Recently, we've had a drunk driving accident in the Willow Park Village area. It took an hour for the officers to be able to respond to that accident. We were lucky enough to have the dispatcher send the Parker County Police Department out, or Sheriff's Department, excuse me, and they came out and held the scene until the Willow Park Village Police could show, but they were busy handling a bar fight, and so they were unable to come for over an hour. And so that is really not the response time that we need in this kind of situation. In addition, I know that there are a number of residents at the apartments down in the Walsh area next to the Cook's Hospital, Children's Hospital, that are now in the process of trying to get out of their leases because of the theft that comes from having an apartment complex very closely to a freeway. Now, I'm not telling you I'm against apartment complexes, because I'm not, but I'm just telling you kind of some of the things that come from that. So we do not have the police ability to handle that kind of increased theft. Fire department, you guys know our fire department. I don't think that we are prepared to handle a 4-story fire structure in our area. We don't have the equipment, and we don't have the responsibility to, it's not fair for us to have people who rely on us for that. To enhance both of those areas, we would have to increase our taxes, and I don't believe those over 200 residents are going to pay property taxes, nor are they going to pay school taxes, which we all know our schools are already at capacity, and we're looking at ways to handle more students. City maintenance, city repairs, street repairs, signage replacements, things of that nature are all in disarray. We have requested some and got approval to have some replaced in our neighborhood, but we can't get them because you don't have the facilities or the materials to do so. And so that's a problem. We have a strip of land right there by our home that is supposed to be maintained by the city, and there are many times in the summer that grass goes up to my waist. And when you do come and mow it, nothing personal, but it's not a pretty sight when all that grass is just cut down and left there to rot. Our roads, there's one for you right there. Our roads cannot handle an additional 200+ home units. We don't have that capacity. We already have enough problems between the school times and the work times. There are times for me to go for 2 miles. It takes me over 15 minutes to get on the freeway. Our neighborhood is landlocked by traffic. We have Bankhead, we have Ranch House, and we have the freeway with all the construction. And we cannot get anywhere in any amount of time. I have to apologize that I was late to your meeting and late adding my name, and that literally had to do with the fact I had to sit in traffic for 10 minutes to come across the freeway. That's as far as I had to come. With so many people and so many families, I just don't think it's possible for our schools to handle that. I don't think it's fair. I don't think the people of Willow Park should have to pay the school taxes when you're bringing in that many additional students. And so I realize my time's up. I want to thank you for your consideration, and I appreciate your respect.
Thank you. Next, we have Casey Finnis.
Hello. My name is Casey Finnis. I live at 204 Bay Hill in the Willow Park Village HOA. My husband and I moved in 2018. We were looking for a good school district, small town, everything that Willow Park presented to us. We found our dream home and dream community. When we moved in, the only thing on Willow Crossing was the back end of Brookshire's. Parker County Ice House or Parker County Brewing did not exist. Fuzzy's was not there. The Willow Crossing townhomes did not exist. Country Hollow was not there. We were able to easily maneuver in and out of our neighborhood. Country Hollow is currently at 17% capacity. They are expected to have 90 additional homes in that community that is, again, landlocked between the I-20 service road and Bankhead, which are already over capacity. If you try to
get in and out of Willow Park Village. I work in Benbrook. I work 12 miles from my driveway. And because of construction, which I know you guys have no control over 20 and 30, but that, in addition to the traffic on Willow Crossing, on Bankhead, on Ranch House, make it virtually impossible for me to get out of my neighborhood. It takes me over an hour to get home because of the same reasons. I am not against apartments. I am not against growth. I am for controlled growth, and that is not currently happening. We cannot accommodate another 90 families in Country Hollow, another 110 units in a 4-story apartment building. Whatever is going on behind Parker County Brewing, another multifamily development, that alone, if you just count the number of units, that's over 250, 300 additional people trying to maneuver 2-lane roads in and out of our community. Those were zoned commercial. When we moved into our house, we expected some growth. We did not expect to be landlocked by the number of people moving in. Commercial development is expected. You're going to get restaurants, you're going to get bars, you're going to get stores. Those do not equal the number of consistent bodies in that area, and it's just not feasible with the way the infrastructure is now. If there was a way to widen Willow Crossing or Ranch House or Bankhead to accommodate before you allow that growth, that would make so much more sense for the citizens who call Willow Park home. We shop here, our doctor is here, our dentist is here, our entertainment is here. We have a very small circle, and it's getting smaller because we can't leave our community, which I love my community, don't always want to leave it, but when we do want to, we want to be able to go places and do things without being so frustrated getting out of the neighborhood that we cannot enjoy ourselves when we do leave. It's growing too rapidly. A 4-story apartment complex does not say Willow Park to me. That says Weatherford, that says Fort Worth. It loses the small town appeal that we all love and moved here for when you start doing things like that. The future land use maps all said that those areas were zoned commercial, and I feel like it was that way for a reason. We're too many already, and I feel like not everybody visits our side of town at those times where it can get hectic. I know Scott does, I heard Nathan does, so they feel our pain, and I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that we are not against growth. I don't necessarily love apartment complexes right outside of my door, but if you are going to grow, just do it in a way that makes sense. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, on item 4, do we have anybody else that wants to speak? Marcy?
Hello again. Marcy Galley, 500 Squaw Creek Road. I would like the city council to please vote this down. Multifamily here does not make sense with all of the extreme traffic in that area. It's very congested. And the main issue is the fact that it does not align to our future land use map. That parcel has been commercial for many, many years, and I would like to see that voted down. We should not rezone this piece of property to multifamily. As to other areas in that small, same crossing, that is the Villages of Willow Park. That was a PD that was approved back in 2017, and there are no apartments that are allowed in that PD. So thank you so much, and I hope y'all vote it down.
Is there anyone else on item 4? Okay, so the time now is 7:34. The public hearing is now closed. I appreciate the public attending and speaking on the item. Number 5, regular agenda items. Number 5 is for discussion and action on rules of order for the city council meetings. Andy Messer.
I'm happy to speak to that. It occurred to me that maybe a tool that our firm has used in helping other cities govern in difficult circumstances could be used here. And so we drafted these basic rules that have assisted other cities in council meetings in the past. So I thought it would be something for consideration for the council to look at. I know one of our client cities laminates this. It's two-sided and puts it on the dais of every council meeting, the council member from every council meeting to remind them of some of the rules, and it can be right in front of them. And some procedures you can use to help guide the meeting, help decorum in the meeting. And so it's just a tool that can be utilized if you wanted to utilize it. I think it's consistent with your current regulations, so it's just for an item for consideration. If you want to enact it, that's fine as well, but thought it might be helpful.
Do we have any discussion? Is there any specific items on there that changes what we already have? Could you reference?
No, it really gives, I guess, a finer point to some of the things that you already do have. So let me just kind of go through some of the main points. It talks about decorum and efficiency for the public to focus on the item and the policy in question and not personalities. Says debate on policy is healthy, debate on personalities is not. It talks about how speakers are able to speak. They turn in a speaker card before the meeting begins. They need to be recognized. They can approach the podium. And if they don't do that, the mayor can silence them. It talks about preserving decorum and for the mayor to be able to gavel somebody out of order. You have that ability already. These are just rules that would be right in front of you. It talks about decorum, that the speakers would approach the podium and speak to the entire council, not be interrupted, address the entire council, not a single member of the council or audience or staff confine themselves to the question that's under debate. And then there are various points of order, points of privilege, explains what those are and how those are utilized, how a council member can withdraw a motion in the middle of a topic, how a council member can call a question for an immediate determination, vote on an item, and then it gives a kind of a escalating procedure on enforcement of rules and procedures that the mayor can utilize to help contain and control meetings. And so the first one is a warning. The second one is either recess the meeting, which can happen multiple times, or ask that the sergeant at arms remove a person from a meeting. That's rare, does happen occasionally. Then council can make motions to enforce if the meeting is not being controlled in their view, and who controls the meeting if the mayor and mayor pro tem are absent, which would be the deputy mayor pro tem. So that's a kind of a generalization, Reader's Digest version of what's contained in these 2 pages.
Okay, do we have any discussion from the council?
The red line wasn't included.
No,
So there are just a few little things, just as clarification that the public hearings, as we just saw, 5 minutes, not 3. It's currently listed as 3 in there.
Right.
And then the sergeant at arms should be the city manager or designee, and any police officer in attendance at the direction of the sergeant of arms, correct?
That's right. And then also says that if the mayor and the mayor pro tem are not present, then the deputy mayor pro tem should preside. And in my view, if the deputy mayor pro tem is not present or not occupied, then it would probably be the council member with the longest tenure, but that would be up to the council to vote on that.
You would just appoint one per that night, you would vote on
Yes, right.
establishing who that person will be for the night?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone else discussion? Okay, is there a motion?
Didn't see it. I'll make a motion to approve the rules of order as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. On to 6. Item 6 is presentation about the Parker County Water Initiative by Jessica Brown Fries and Nichols Engineering. Michelle.
Council, we have Jessica Brown with Fries and Nichols Engineering. They have been retained by the Parker County Commissioners Court in order to start planning for water supplies for Parker County currently and in the future. I asked Jessica to come give y'all a presentation tonight because in the next couple of months, I'm going to be asking y'all if y'all want to participate in this program or not. So but I'm going to let Jessica take it over, and if y'all have any questions for her, we'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We do have some hard copies of the presentation. My coworker, Andrew Franco, is going to pass those out. That way you have those. I know they were in your packets too, but I know it's also kind of helpful because you can only see certain. As Michelle mentioned, Jessica Brown, Fries and Nichols, also proud Parker County resident. As Michelle mentioned, we were retained by the Commissioners Court to do an evaluation of water supply needs within the county and potential solutions to address that. Obviously, we're looking at that short-term and long-term overall. So you kind of see the map in front of you just shows some of the different water entities within the county and just some of the water infrastructure. But what you see also is a gap there. So we're going to kind of frame the problem a little bit. So going through what is in our study, so the first was to evaluate water district alternatives that are available within the county to provide formation support in terms of a public utility agency, and I'm going to go through the difference between a water district and a public utility agency. To develop demand and supply projections, so we've been working with each of the entities in the county to gather that information, determine what that gap is in terms of water supply needs. Obviously, public engagement, have appreciated some of you participating in that. I know I've seen some familiar faces in some of the engagement that we've done, and I'll talk through some of those. Then going through and developing water supply alternatives, what are some of the different options, what are the costs, what do those look like? Doing some overall regional supply and transmission planning, so obviously we have to get water from the point of supply to each of the entities, and then looking at what funding options there are in terms of loans, grants, et cetera, and then what that cost impact is. So I mentioned talking through a little bit of what the situation is and where we find ourselves. So one interesting point, if you aren't aware, Parker County has drilled more wells than any other county in the whole state of Texas. If you look back, you can kind of see the trajectory of how that's happened. But you can see the next closest county is our neighbors to the north, which is Wise County. So one challenge that we see, though, is that we're drilling a lot of wells are being drilled. They are having to be drilled deeper. That's the item that you see on the graph that you see on the far left. So we're having to go deeper. And then when it says average specific capacity, that just means what's coming out of the well. So how much supply is coming out of the well. So we're drilling them deeper and we're getting less out of them. So obviously that shows, that we have some groundwater concerns, groundwater supply concerns. And so what we're looking at is diversification of water supply in order to preserve the water that we have now. So some things that come into play in terms of looking at regional collaborations. You'll see one, obviously, water supply challenges. I just talked about the groundwater supply right now not being sustainable for full growth of the county. Obviously, there's a lack of those easy and short-term options. That's something every county is dealing with across the state. Unfortunately, the state has done a great job of planning for water supply in the past. A lot of those easy options, you say, let's just go get water from this lake, let's just drill this well. Those options are not available to us, unfortunately. Looking at cost and funding challenges, obviously this is one as a council that you're hyper aware of. Everything is costing more, even to the individual homeowner, everything is costing more. And so as those construction costs go up, it becomes very difficult to do anything alone. And so hence, the need to be able to work together kind of for that economies of scale. Obviously, economic development plays a huge factor here. Obviously the county has invested a lot in roads, continuing to. I drive those every day, so I feel everyone's pain they've talked about. But water is another component to that. You can build roads, but if you don't have water to supply the growth that's here, then obviously that doesn't work. And then, right now, there's not any type of structure for each of the entities to work together collaboratively, to develop these solutions. So those are just some of the overall considerations. So I mentioned one of the early items we were looking at was what are some different water alternatives in terms of a regional entity. And so there were two that we looked at the time, so you'll see those in front of you. The one on the left is the Public Utility Agency, and that is the direction we're going. But the one on the right is the Water District option. And I'm going to talk just some of those differences between those two. A lot of ways they're very similar, but there's some very key ways that they're different. With a water district that is formed through the legislative process through a local bill, with a public utility agency, and this is what Michelle was alluding to, each entity that is going to participate in that public utility agency passes a concurrent ordinance. And so we have examples of what that is, and those are some things we'll be working through. Governance, they both typically have a board of directors with the utility agency that gets spelled out within the ordinance as to who's appointing them, who's on there, et cetera. On the legislative side, that obviously gets written into the bill as to how that's originally formed. The boundaries and members, obviously that's determined by who's a part of that. So again, that's why that's very important to determine that. One thing I do want to point out, because also I don't like new taxes either, but on the water district side, a water district does have the ability to have taxing authority if the legislation grants it. A public utility agency never has the authority to tax. So really what you're looking at is revenue. You sell water, you get revenue for selling water. That's the only source of that. Both entities are able to issue debt, obviously just like any other entity. They do not have eminent domain in terms of a public utility agency. You can see all of the things on the water district that gets worked out within the build process, and then they are required to do public bidding. So that's just kind of some contrasting, but like I said, if you don't hear anything I say today, taxing authority is not included in this. So looking at the public utility agency involvement and what that looks like, who's eligible and not. In terms of who is eligible, publicly owned public water systems are eligible to be a part of that in terms of members. Also cities, counties, et cetera. If they are an IOU, an investor-owned utility, because they're a private entity, they can contract for water with the utility. They cannot be a member, so they cannot serve on the board. So that's just a consideration there. They can hold the ex officios like a non-voting position on the board, but again, that gets worked out with each of the entities through that ordinance process. Some of the benefits and challenges that we have, obviously, one great thing is that economies of scale, as we join together, looking at collaboratively, developing solutions, funding solutions, et cetera. There's an administrative support aspect. It is a separate set of books. It's a separate entity. So if bringing in water supply, that debt, et cetera, that is on that PUA's books, not on each individual entity's books. So it's a separate side. And then the other thing is obviously we have a lot of area that's within the county. If you look at the map that's in front of you, any of the areas that are in green, those are public water systems. So that is the boundary. Those are either city limits or what we call certificate of convenience necessity. So that's where that entity has the first right to serve water. The thing that you'll notice is there's a bunch of that gray color that you see there. Mm-hmm. There is not anyone who is planning currently for water in those areas. And so that becomes a challenge. So looking at the overall framework considerations, a few things, and I'm going to hit on a few of these. Membership, obviously, who is a part of that, whether the entity provides wholesale and or retail service, governance, and we'll go into some specific items there, what powers that the entity has, where funding comes from, which really is water rates, so revenue, and then staffing. So just hit on a few things here. I'm going to walk through these, and stop me if you'll have questions along the way. Sorry, I forgot to say that early on. I'm going to walk through these by color because I think it makes a little more sense color-wise. So if you look at all the items that are in green, those are those public engagement efforts. So we've had a couple of informational meetings, invited all the public water systems just to be able to hear some of this information initially, provide feedback, et cetera. So we've had several informational meetings. We've done some presentations. We called them a roadshow. This is one of those. And then we also had the water symposium. Obviously, that invitation went out wide. We had over 200 people, had a lot of really great engagement there. So that's the first color. The orange is the second one. And those are our meetings with wholesale providers, so meeting with Tarrant Regional Water District, meeting with Brazos River Authority and others to determine what potential sources of water supply are out there. And then with the purple items, and so those meetings are going to continue, sorry, I forgot to say that. With the purple items, that is this formation a journey where we're looking at the ordinances and interlocal agreement, and there's two different things that are, those are two different things, and I'm going to go through what's in each of those. But that's working through that process with each of the entities that choose to be a part. And then the color that's in yellow on the bottom, that's really going through and identifying those potential infrastructure needs after we've nailed down exactly the water supply side. Any questions on that? Okay. So in terms of what is in the ordinance versus what is in the interlocal agreement. So within the ordinance, what you'll see is who the different entities are that are a part of this. What are the boundaries or service area? Obviously, that's usually contiguous with the actual participants in there. What does the board membership look like? What are the requirements? There's very little that's actually in the documents or in the law that establishes that. So that's established by each of the entities, such as, do you want to allow a elected official to be one of those? So that's some of the discussion that would come into play. Usually minimum requirement is at least a registered voter of Parker County. So we have that. But going into terms, et cetera. What the board positions are and procedures are, obviously agency powers, in this case primarily supplying water, conveying water. What does voting look like? Does each entity have an equal vote? Do we have weighted voting at any point? And then what the fiscal year is. So pretty much every entity out here is October 1, September 30th. I would be shocked if we didn't do something contiguous with that. Fast forwarding over to the interlocal agreement, because these are two things that get passed together. The first, one of the things that gets worked out is cost sharing initially, because obviously until you have infrastructure, there are certain costs that come into play. And so what does that cost sharing look like? What the term of the agreement is, so how long that agreement is in place, and then who the fiscal agent is. Because obviously the mail, et cetera, all of the funding needs to come to one location. And so establishing who that is. The formation process is fairly straightforward. We are working on obviously all the items on the far left side. So who is interested in joining, what the powers and provisions are of the PUA, what the boundaries of the agency are. Again, that correlates with who's members of that, and then board of directors. And so then that goes through a public noticing process. Our neighbors to the north at Wise County recently formed the West Fork Public Utility Agency. So there's a lot of great information there in terms of the process they went through, the exact same thing. It basically goes to the newspaper for at least 14 days, advertised at least twice in a newspaper of general circulation in the county. And then there's kind of this is where it diverges a little bit. For any entity, if there's a petition by 10% of registered voters, and I'll be clarify and say registered voters because we got to ask that, then that entity has to go through an election process. Not every single one. If you have 7 entities, only one has a petition process. Only that entity is the one who goes through the election process. Requires a majority vote, and then obviously if it doesn't pass, then that entity doesn't join. If it does pass, then everyone passes their ordinances. So our overall timeline, and Michelle was alluding to this a little bit in terms of path forward. We've been talking about all of this really kind of going back to October 2024 is when we originally got under contract with the county. So I've had a lot of internal discussions and meetings with the public water systems. So this path forward is based on contingency if any entity has to do an election. So you'll see all of the items that are starred are assuming that if there's a possibility there's an election. Mm-hmm. And that election day would be November. So we have to back up from there. So for last day to call an election is August 17th. Obviously, it depends on when you meet as to when that would be. So that's what kind of dictates the first part of our side. So what we've been working through so far is, as Michelle mentioned, who is going to be part of that, and that's some of the continuing discussions, obviously, that the city will need to have. And working through, we're working on setting up meetings with each of the, collectively with all the group to be able to talk through the ordinance and the interlocal agreement. Again, not a commitment yet still to join, but to talk through those considerations and then go through and then finalize that and go through the process of passing those ordinances over the course of the summer, that June and July time period. So with that, I will open it up to any questions. We do have, on the last slide there, we do have an email address that, and a website. Any of the previous Parker County Hydrology Committee meetings are all posted there. Any of the presentations that were at the water symposium are also posted there. So, and that's where we post notices of everything. And there's an email address in case you want to reach out.
All right, any discussion?
What are the benefits to be having more or fewer other neighboring communities join us in this? Can you speak to kind of how that plays out, and if we're better served by getting a bigger group, or if we want to keep it play a little closer to the vest?
Absolutely. Really, at the end of the day, obviously, the more people you have buying into something, the lower the costs are. Obviously, individual pipelines to someone that is a little different, but if you're looking at water treatment facilities or a large regional water supply pipeline or a large regional pump station, that cost efficiency to go up is less, is the cost to the delta in between the two. Like if I do a 5 MGD pump station versus 10 MGD pump station, there's certain costs that are sunk that you have to do no matter what. And usually going up that next size for something is a smaller incremental cost. And so your cost to do a 5 MGD pump station versus partnering with a 10 MGD pump station overall could be a lot lower because you have those sunk costs. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Follow up more later, yeah. Thank you.
Yep, please feel free to reach out.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so next we have item 7 is our quarterly financial report presentation by Jake Weber.
Good evening.
Hey.
So this is just going to go over the first 3 months of our fiscal year. So obviously we're early in the year, so a lot of these things are still, we're still figuring things out in terms of where we're at. But I'll go over some items I'll point out. Obviously, if you have any questions, let me know. So just looking at general fund, right now, our M&O tax, we're on track. We're basically flat from last year, which is kind of expected. We'll know more by next meeting because obviously just timing of when we get tax payments in. We've just started getting them in. This is December 31, right? So we've just started to get them in because people pay their taxes in December, January. But all in all, everything looks fine on the revenue side on the general fund. Sales tax is up $67,000 from last year, so that's good. So we've had some really good growth, as has been mentioned earlier tonight. A few years ago, we kind of flattened out, and then the last probably year or so, we've started to get that growth again, and so we're continuing to see that. So that's a really positive sign. So hopefully, we'll continue to get the sales tax growth. And just in terms of expenses, you can see we're at 24% a quarter of the way through the year. So we're on track with where we need to be. There's a few. If you look on the line items, a few contractual services that are high, but some of those are kind of one-time costs, right? So it's not necessarily a concern this early in the year. So again, nothing out of the ordinary per se on the general fund, and you can kind of see, obviously, we're starting the year at a surpluses, which is where we want to be. Water fund, just looking at that again, we're pretty much flat right now on our revenue. The one thing I would say that I do have a concern on our general fund, and this is something that's been in play for a while, is we've had the ongoing lawsuit with HAF for several years, and our legal bills so far, we're at $790,000 that we've spent over the last 3 or 4 years. And so the reality is we had a really good reserve in our water fund, but that has taken a hit, right? Just from a financial perspective, a cash perspective. Do we still have reserves? Yes, but it's really taken a hit. So it's just something we really need to keep an eye on in terms of how long is this going to drag out? What are the fees going to continue to be? Because they're really starting to impact the reserves that we have on that fund. And so I would say it is starting to be a concern just from a financial perspective. And again, I don't know where that's at legally, but I just want to bring that to your attention on where we're at there. Otherwise, in terms of water fund, we're fine, we're in good shape. It's just that's kind of dragging on the cash flow a little bit on that. And then wastewater fund, again, you kind of look at that. Our user fees are fairly flat. Our expenses are very minimal because really most of our expenses in that fund are our bond payments, right? And those all hit in February. So same with water. Our bigger expenses are going to come that aren't reflected yet on these reports. Mm-hmm. So you'll get a more clear picture as the year goes on. But you can kind of see we're obviously at a surplus year to date because we haven't paid those payments yet. The other big thing obviously on wastewater is just with the package plant that's going in. there's 5.5 million left on that, cash to continue building that out. And I know in the coming months that will get finished. And so as far as I know, that's tracking on budget. And obviously, depending on where that ends up and any cash that's remaining, there'll be probably some decisions on how to, handle that cash and what to do with that when everything's done. And then just some other comments on some other funds. I know the $1.5 million bond that was passed last summer, that was, there was the engineering and some different projects. There's $222,000 left on that, and I believe that's for the bathrooms in the park, I think, is what had been discussed. So I don't know if that's going to come over that number, but that's what we have in cash in that fund still that has not been spent. And then tourism fund, there's $593,000 in cash. I know that's something y'all are going to discuss some of the, procurement procedures on that fund. So just FYI, that's how much that's been built up over the last several years with the new hotel. So there's money there, and obviously it's restrictive, but just so you know how much is available, that we have there. Is there any questions? I know, again, I just tried to highlight some of the high-end items on there, but any questions on the financials for Q1?
Any questions? Okay, thank you very much, Jake.
Yep,
We
thank you.
appreciate it. Okay, we're moving on to 8. 8 is to consider a request for a change in zoning from Class 2 residential R1 single-family district to Class 1 special purpose PD/BD Planned Development District for the Beldine Ranch development, being a tract of land in the F.H. Hammond Survey, abstract number 673, the heirs of the Francisco Sanchez Survey, abstract number 2346, and the HTNBRR CO Survey number 5, abstract number 647, described in the deed to the John Henry III, recorded in volume 1441, page 424 of the official public records of Parker County, Texas, containing approximately 317.732 acres, more or less, within the city of Willow Park, Texas. Do we have Chelsea Kirkland? Yes, Chelsea?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The approximate 317-acre tract located on the southeast intersection of I-20 and 1187, owned by Beldine Ranch Limited, brings forth a request for a change in zoning from a R1, which is its automatic designation upon annexation, to a planned development. The Beldine Ranch Development Agreement presented the basis of mixed-use development standards. The planned development application and attachments are presented. This item was presented to Planning and Zoning Commission on February 17th and was passed with a unanimous vote of 4-0. City staff has reviewed this request and recommends its approval. Robert and Logan Bell are here to answer any questions that you may have further.
Do y'all have any questions?
Sure. Would you speak on the addition of the data centers? I think that's probably one of the most talked about things and why it's in there, and kind of go from there.
Who's up?
Rock, paper,
Okay, you get to win right there. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to be clear about data centers. From a practical standpoint, there's just no way there's going to be a data center. It's what the planned development zoning calls for is that you can have it within the light industrial zone, which is about 55 acres of this total development. But if you look at that 55 acres, a lot of it's already kind of chewed up between 12 gas wells on 2 different pad sites and the existing power lines that go through there. So there's really just not practical room to build something like that in that zone. The other zones, you can build it, but it takes a special use permit from the city here. So if there was ever an interest, let's say, from somebody wanting to build something like that, they would have to come back to this body and get permission to do it. You can't do it under the existing zone. from a practical standpoint, we just kind of know what's going to happen in the data center world because we've talked to people that want to develop that kind of thing. And it's just, for this particular location, it's just not really possible. There's just not the power and whatnot to do it.
Okay, so it's not feasible, we're not going to do a data center at this time?
Right.
Okay. That's a lot of concern, so that's
Agreed.
helpful.
Just the verbiage in there just being as part of, like you said, just because it's part of the, how it would be considered zoned, and that therefore it's kind of a catch-all.
Like 2 years ago, when we first started working on what we thought that could go in this location, we actually thought it'd be a great location for it, right? Because it's got gas lines, it's got big power lines, it's got a substation on that property. Council at that time was concerned about it, just like you are now. And that's the reason why we said, okay, well, hey, we're going to write in that if it ever came about, it would have to come back to this body. You know, you couldn't just use the zoning to do it, right? But since then, we've kind of found out the practical realities of building and how large they are and that type of thing. And it's just not really in the cards.
Because you have to have a buffer between the homes, is that the way it works? I'm not so familiar with that.
Yeah, it's really the...
Because of the noise?
It's really the power that's the problem.
Okay.
And the ability of Encore to be able to deliver all the power needs that are being kind of requested for it. It's just, the power's just not there.
Okay, we appreciate that.
Too, probably that the water element would also be an issue that usually for cooling and such, and that would be another use that just would not make sense based on.
I don't know enough about that. I'm not in the data center type business. I don't know about air cooled and water cooled and how much water they need or not.
Right, okay. Understood, thank you.
And like I say, we're here to answer any other questions you have about the.
Anybody have any more questions?
I'm happy to respond to that. Sure, yeah. What she's asking is, if there's a lawsuit pending by Fort Worth and Aledo that involves this tract, how can the council go forward? Well, the lawsuit is a piece of paper with however much money to file it and serve it that has, you have no idea the validity or merit or lack of merit of anything that's said. And so this development agreement is in place. It's been approved by prior councils where there are commitments by the city that, on both sides of that agreement, that need to move forward unless at some point a court declares it that we can't. And so right now, that agreement is alive and well and binding with the developer and the city. And I think both parties are moving forward with that development, and we intend to vigorously defend the lawsuit.
Will that be expensive?
Yes. No, but that's kind of detracting from the actual agenda item that we're talking about.
Okay. One more question?
Thanks for letting me speak. Marcy Galley again, 500 Squaw Creek Road. So if the developer has just stated he has no desire to build a data center, I would like to ask the council to, when they approve this PD, amend it to remove the data center option altogether, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on this?
Mr. Bill, either one of you guys, do y'all mind just sharing your vision for this property, just to kind of give some clarity or air on what's going to go there, what the vision is from beginning to end, all that stuff? That would be fantastic for this group.
I'll take that question.
Thank you.
So the agenda item tonight is, to, is focused on land use, right? Now, what could be there? And we're probably, 1 or 2 years away from something that would actually be a use, right? Because there's a lot of infrastructure has to be built and everything for that even to happen. But we need to get the zoning in place so that we know what could be built, what could be used. And like Chelsea said, this kind of been hashed through with staff that has gone to your planning and zoning. The basis for plan development was to take, this is a large piece of land, so it has different zoning districts to it. And those zoning districts are taken from your base zoning. So if you look at the area that's like light industrial, there's your light industrial zone. It's commercial, it's your industrial zone, or your commercial zone. Single family, same types of things. We also tried to place these different zones where they were next to other existing zones of the same type of character. So if there was residential houses nearby, then we put single-family houses for that
Like
zone.
with Prairie Ridge, where you.
If there was light industrial nearby, then we put the light industrial there, and that's also kind of where the gas wells kind of exist on the property. The commercial piece, the main commercial piece that's there at 1187 and I-20, you know, from a, and of course, I think in your packet, you should have kind of what the original concept plan, you know, is. So this, I mean, this still is kind of the concept plan. So, you know, that area is kind of like a retail, restaurant, you know, community place to be able to buy, you know, whatever. So we've talked a little bit about the sales tax growth, and, you know, it was kind of part of the vision that would be kind of like the eastern corridor, basically, of Willow Park, that as you're coming out of Fort Worth, and that would be kind of the point to get into Willow Park, and where the kind of like larger box retail and things like that could be developed in that part of the park. I don't know if I've fully answered your question. I think
No, you're fine. I
general idea of kind of what the uses would be, and that's the general direction.
Absolutely.
And there's been a lot of interest. You know, I mean, this county's growing, and so there's a lot of interest about potential uses.
Absolutely.
So Robert, it's premature to talk about any commercial businesses. I've heard some rumors, but I guess it's too premature that people are just making up rumors of lovely stores going in there, right?
That's right, yeah. And so, you know, it's almost kind of a thing where nothing's done until it's done, right? You know, so there's a lot of interest, and we kind of talked about some of or it's been brought up kind of some of the things that are in the zoning here about heights and building heights and stuff. You know, we don't know for sure. You know, like you get an opportunity for some, you know, office buildings or something to locate out there that are similar to like what we see at Alliance or whatever, that are several stories tall, that brought jobs to this community. We'd be, you know, all for that. You know, if it's another hotel that's several stories tall, you know, we'd be for that too. If it's big boxes and shopping and stuff that wants to come there and that generates, you know, significant sales tax dollars, obviously, you know, we see that as part of the vision too.
So, question I have is, it sounds like that you're favoring Willow Park, and that's your home for this vision. It is, the difference is we have the infrastructure at this point in time to be a partner on this issue. Is that right?
That is.
In your development?
Yeah, that's 100% correct.
Okay.
It's a credit to this city that you know, you made certain moves, you know, over the years to improve your sewage treatment facilities so that you have capacity, be able to have agreements to be able to get additional water so you can grow. And so I think that, you know, you've done a good job, you know, of being stewards, you know, to kind of prepare yourself for potential growth. So, and that's, I can't say the same thing about some of your neighbors. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Discussion?
Hey, Kathy, do you mind coming up to the podium? Thank you.
Can't hear you.
Kathy Kinney, 138 Muirfield, Willow Park. There's a Prairie Ridge Estates, you know, everybody knows, really nice area, and it's gated. How's this going to affect them? And I thought that was part of Alito. Am I wrong on that?
That's in the county.
It's county.
And
So it's not Alito yet?
no, ma'am.
I thought their addresses were
No, ma'am.
Alito.
That's the post office.
Well, I understand that, because we are.
Well, that's the misnomer, is that the Alito ISD versus the Alito Post Office. So if you have a 76008, it's the Alito Post Office, but that's not.
I don't believe they don't pay city taxes to anybody, I don't believe.
So it's in the county.
How's all that going to affect them? I mean, I'd be selling my house, I think.
Well, so as Mr. Bell had mentioned, everything would be proprietary to the zoning as it is. And as we saw on the map, he's putting residential next to residential.
Okay.
And then you break it into multifamily, then you go into light industrial, and then you go into commercial. So it's a full
I
plan.
noticed he didn't mention multifamily when he was speaking.
No.
And we had talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Because people that have houses, he said they'll, like those houses and then maybe lesser houses,
Mhm.
or lesser quality, not quality, but not as many amenities or whatever.
Mhm.
And then apartments. Those houses, they won't want to be by apartments either. I mean, I'm just saying.
I mean, there's a zoning requirement that allows for
Yeah.
that. That's why you go from R1 to then R5 and then to multifamily. So that way you start breaking apart that substructure from your big style houses to a medium style house to a medium density growth and so forth. So we've got to be very, very protective of that as well.
So will that community start having to pay, say, they are in fact part of Willow Park, are they going to be paying Willow Park taxes?
Absolutely.
They're going to love that.
And we'll also be getting the sales tax from all of the commercial businesses that will be going into
Yeah.
that development too, which will be huge for us because not only will they be under Willow Park, but we'll have control of that development working with the developer and doing that. If they go somewhere else, we don't have that. Or if they stay county, we don't have that. So they'll build it either way. It would be great to have it in Willow Park to where we have some say and structure and get the benefit from that.
Yeah, but I mean, we can't just keep going and going. I mean, you know, water could be a
Agreed.
big problem out here. And that's very,
Agreed.
that's all, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any discussion before we move on? Okay, is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the request for a change in rezoning from Class 2 Residential R1 Single Family District to Class 1 Special Purpose PDBD Planned Development District for the Beldine Ranch Development as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, passed. All right, item 9 is to discuss an act to consider a request for a change in zoning from Class 3 Business C Commercial District and Class 5 I-20 Overlay District to Class 2 Residential R3 Multifamily District for the Christ Church West Assembly of God, being the owner of the Lot 1, Block 2 of Fawcett Addition, an addition to the City of Willow Park, Parker County, Texas, according to the plat thereof, recorded in Cabinet D, Slide 144, PRCT, within the John H. Phelps Survey, abstract number 1046, Parker County, Texas, containing approximately 6.03 acres, more or less, and within the City of Willow Park. Chelsea?
Yes, Mayor and Council. The applicant has submitted a request for rezoning from commercial to residential multifamily at the site currently known as the Well Church on Willow Crossing, an area characterized by a mix of existing commercial, residential, and multifamily townhome zoning. The proposed rezone would allow for a thoughtfully planned multifamily development to provide additional housing options within the community. This developer proposes to repurpose the existing church building, which has been outgrown by its members, to provide on-site amenities for the complex's residents. After meeting with the city's engineers, we had confirmed that there is water and wastewater capacity for this proposal. This was presented to Planning and Zoning Commission on February 17th and was passed with a unanimous vote of 4-0. In your packet, there are exhibits. There's a conceptual site plan and conceptual photos, as well as both of our future land use maps, one from 2022 and then one from our comprehensive plan in 2014 that actually shows this area to have been proposed mixed use. We don't have a recommendation on this item. However, there have been discussions for this section to provide kind of a buffer to the townhomes for the apartments, but then also, allowing for more residential. And when you look at the commercial zoning uses, it could be a multitude of things. So this is just something that is being presented to you tonight.
Okay, do we have any discussion?
When you said that you've met with engineers regarding water and wastewater capacity, at what capacity was that? Was this at the full build-out of a?
Of the 110 units.
110
Yeah.
units based on?
And if they go 4-story, it would have to go to a PD, as you know. But then also, they're thinking of a bunch of different areas for park land dedication for their residents and the development next to it, the subdivision. And I actually have the developers here if you want to ask them some questions.
Anybody have anything else?
So one of the questions that came up a little while ago, I understand that we've worked with our city engineer to talk about water and wastewater. So if Gretchen says we're good, I get with Gretchen. Have we talked about traffic? Have we talked about traffic patterns? Have we talked about where the entrances and exits are going to be and how we can alleviate or mitigate some of the traffic problems that we are having and how we can prevent them from getting worse if this goes into place?
That would be part of our site development plan review. We would probably require them to do a TIA, which they have already stated that they would be willing to do.
TIA is a traffic impact analysis.
Yes, traffic impact analysis. Thank you, Tony.
Okay. Anyone else?
I mean, there's really only one point of ingress and egress there, if I'm not mistaken, unless you're planning on connecting through the townhomes or through Willow Park Village potentially. And that puts a whole lot of pressure on all the roads leading back to Bankhead, to Ranch House, to the frontage area. Just kind of talking through this now, so as someone that does live in the area, in my mind, it's not an ideal use for that area, but I also realize too that if you leave, what is it, light industrial right now or commercial?
It's commercial.
Commercial, right. Then we're subject to anything else that comes in at that point, and I'm not sure what serves our city better. I want to make sure that any land use is for the best use of the property while also respecting the property rights of the individuals to develop it. So this is a tough one for me just because from a capacity standpoint and a traffic standpoint, I don't think it does make a lot of sense for this area, but also respect the right to use and develop, and that's why we go through these processes.
So anyone else have any discussions?
Yeah, Kathy.
Owners don't want this. It's not an ideal area. They've already mentioned about the traffic. I mean, if they try to cut through Willow Park Village, those people down there on Bay Hill Court, that messes up probably part of the reasons some of those people bought those houses down there was to kind of be private. It's nice down there now. I wouldn't want somebody coming down, cutting through there, making another road. It's just not ideal for apartments.
Just for clarity, I wasn't saying that they would create a cut through on those roads, but
Well, I
there
know
is the
that. I understand
potential, and
that.
that's one thing I think you're right in stating that we do need to be respectful of.
I understand that, but it's commercial now. And there's not going to be some big bad factory or something there that nobody would want. I mean, look at the other little commercial things that are around the city. They're around houses, some of them. That's much better than apartment. Much better, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion?
I'd just like to make one quick comment.
Sure.
As someone who lives in that area.
Would you come up? Yeah, please.
Yep,
I'm pretty loud.
we can hear you.
Yeah, just for everyone
Thank
listening
you.
at home.
Just want to bring to your attention that that meeting on February the 11th, that was supposed to be, that planning and zoning, I guess, had, I'm not quite sure, but it was supposed to send a notification to everybody within 200 feet of that, and no one on our street nor in our community was aware of that, and we are right next door. So I'm one of those homes that was supposed to receive the notification. I read every piece of mail that comes to me, and I did not receive it, so I feel like you need to know that.
We will check on that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Can I ask a quick question related to this?
Very quick. Come to the podium. Let's do quick. Move on.
I am ignorant to this whole process, so what does that look like moving forward? I know you're discussing it tonight, a traffic study, things like that. Where does that lead? Is there more public comment before a decision is made? Just what that whole process looks like moving forward before something is decided on?
So based on what it is right now, it's a commercial zoned property. So the project that's before you is looking to go for an R3, which is multifamily. However, if it is a 4-story, it would have to come back to do anything that's not per our base zoning. That has to come back for special consideration, which is a planned development. So if that comes back for that, then that would have to be considerations for what they're proposing for those items. If it's 4-story, if it's doing a number of things that they want to do, if it's less parking, if it's adding another entrance through something else. But in those respects, that traffic analysis survey, could go ahead and impact that. So, based on I apologize, I didn't get your name. Based on the fact of the public notice, the public hearing that you said you did not get, I would like to recommend that we table this tonight then, so we can check on that, because if that process wasn't completed somehow, then we need to go back and do that again. So I would like to recommend that get tabled.
I'd also like
Okay.
to see a TIA on that too before we even make any kind of recommendation or decision.
Okay, so we're going to table it. Do we have to vote on that?
Yeah, you
Yes?
do,
Okay.
and I would agree that it should be tabled.
Do we have any motion to table it then?
I'll make a motion to table agenda item number 10 as read, or do I need to read the whole thing?
It's number
Or
9.
As presented.
As
you don't have to.
presented,
No, you have to read it.
with the submission of a TIA as well.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Item 10 is to discuss and act to consider a resolution accepting, petition and calling public hearing for the proposed annex property of approximately 61.405 acres of land out of the West Franklin Survey, abstract number 468, and in the A. McCarver Survey, abstract number 910, Parker County, Texas, being generally located at the northeast corner of Crown Road and Meadow Place Drive, Clarion. City Council may adopt a resolution that sets public hearing date and authorizes the publication and mailing of a notice of the public hearing, LGC 43.0673D. Andy Messer.
Yes, Mayor, Council, this is an item for your consideration involving the Clarion residential development, where we have a development agreement that's been enacted. This really carries forth some of the terms in that development agreement. So there's a petition for annexation for that property to be included in the city limits. So this resolution would grant that petition. It would call for a public hearing for the annexation process, and it would direct the city secretary to publish notice in a newspaper of general circulation, all those things required to be able to annex property. So this is a step towards annexing that property, bringing it in the city limits, and obtaining ad valorem tax.
Any discussion? Okay, is there a motion?
Do we need to read the full thing, or?
No.
No,
That
please.
seems to be the.
You can, if you
No,
want.
I
Don't have to.
Proper procedure here, just trying to
Yep.
make. Then I'll make a motion to approve the petition for annexation as discussed.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, let's move on. Number 11. Item 11 is discuss and act to consider mowing and landscaping RFP bids, select and approve a 2026 through 2028 contract. Mandy?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The brief that I had submitted, because we were still taking bids up until Friday, so I'll read the updated brief that y'all have in front of you. So since March 2022, the city has contracted a company to mow and maintain the landscaped areas responsible for by the city. Due to staffing limitations, excessive man hours, and lack of necessary equipment, it is too big of a job to be taken on by our current public works staff. It would require a minimum of 3 more public works employee positions, which would equate to approximately $43,000 apiece per year plus benefits. The city has received 2 bids, one from I&E Services and Davidson Lawn Care. Staff recommends that I&E Services be awarded with this bid.
How much is it?
If you will, yes, so it's on there. So it's, I&E it's $7,365 a month for a total of $88,350 a year for a 2-year contract.
Did I miss that? Who are we using now? Are we using
I&E
them?
is
Got
who we're
it.
currently using and have been since 2022.
So we're happy with them?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Very,
okay. Okay.
very happy.
If we choose to use them again, can they do a better job on Bay Hill Drive as if they were talking about they're just cutting the grass down?
Bay Hill?
We'd have to add it. Yeah, that's what our guys do.
Who's cutting it now? County?
Our guys do it. Yeah, when they get out there for the
Where's
weed eater.
Chase at?
When the
Okay.
weed eater.
Any other
Oh,
discussion?
it's our public works, sorry. Sorry, I'm listening.
Any more discussion?
There's that, and then the additional mowing for Sam Bass Court, Trinity Drive, Trinity Court, and Crown Road that's on this piece of paper.
Yeah.
Those also need, what I read earlier is just for the mowing for the city. These are the additional ones that have been previously approved by council in previous years to mow and maintain. So that's up to y'all if y'all want to continue to do this as well.
Mandy, do you know how many cuts a year we're getting?
Yes, well, that is also in the,
Am I missing? Sorry.
no, you didn't, but it's like the
There,
breakdown
I got
back
you.
here.
I got you.
Yeah, so we have the breakdown of the how many cuts. So 20, looks like 20 total cuts, and some are 33,
Yeah.
if you can see that, and then 20 and 33 for the additionals.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion?
Council, we kind of have this also in 2 separate items, so that one would be the yearly cost, and so that would be the $88,380. But then the second was, we want to make you aware of the fact that the $13,500, that was adding those other items that were added based on the concerns and complaints that were received after the road project for Crown Road, that was added for a year. So we wanted to make you aware of that, and that would be in addition to the $88,000.
Yes. So if you look at it monthly, it's for just the mowing for the city, it's $73.65, and then monthly for the extras, it's an additional $675 during the mowing season.
How are they invoicing us now?
They're separating it out.
Oh,
They're
okay.
invoicing this for the city, and then they line out them, each individual ones.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal from I&E Services, Inc. for the mowing and lawn maintenance services contract for 2026-2028, as recommended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Item 12 is...
Clarification on that, did you want both? Do you want the 13,000 and the 88?
I assumed that
I
was...
think so, yeah.
Is that right, Mandy?
As recommended.
Okay.
As
Okay.
recommended,
Thank you, sorry, I just didn't want to.
Okay, moving on, 12 is to discuss and act on approving a policy and sponsorship request application regarding hotel occupancy tax funds.
Mayor and
tax funds.
Council, Rose is out sick, and I did not download her packet information, but I will tell you that she has been working on this. I'd really feel more comfortable if she present this, because she's been working on this diligently. It has gone through extensive legal review. She and the attorneys have gone and really made this very concise and tight. I will tell you that there is, for the next agenda item, is their application that's in the packet for the promise, and that is what Rose was proposing that application look like, as well as the information for the decision, basically the policy. And so that's in there, but if you want to give her the opportunity to explain that, we can go ahead and table that. If you feel as though it's self-explanatory, what she chose was that basically that the applications that come in, so we have this application, we put this out there, anyone who is interested in asking for hot funds from us for certain things, this being something that checks all the boxes, I would say, in the application and in the policy, that those items get screened by staff, and then they come to council for a final approval. So I will say that the item that's in there now, there was a deadline, and we felt as though that it fit all of the reasons and all of the things that we thought that this was meant to do. And so we went ahead and advanced that, but that is to council's discretion moving forward, that we will actually bring that to council for those decisions.
Okay, so we're tabling this till Rose gets back then?
If you'd like to, I mean, I'd like for her to explain it. She's done a lot of work on this, and I don't think that's fair to just, kind of do
Okay.
that, so.
Do we want to vote to table that?
I'll make-
Rose?
Go ahead, please.
I'll make a motion to table item number 12 on the request for sponsorship application for hotel occupancy tax funds.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Moving on. Item 13, this is very exciting. The announcement of sponsorship recipient using hotel occupancy tax funds in the amount of $10,000 to the Promise. I have been to the Promise twice already, so tell us about it, Jonathan.
Well, the Promise is a very exciting high-rise multifamily data center.
Yeah, right. Stand down.
Early?
Have a seat.
Okay. What we are is a musical.
Yeah.
We're actually the longest running passion play in North America, second longest running one in the world. So for 38 years, The Promise had previously been in Glen Rose, Texas, down in Somervell County, and our new home, at least for the next 2.5 years, will be Willow Park, which is very exciting. So over 3 million people have paid to purchase a ticket and see The Promise live. We were a little bit nervous about coming to a new location after so long down at the amphitheater, but I can tell you that we shattered every record for our Christmas program that we ever had moving up here. So we had just under 13,000 people come to Willow Park. We don't know exactly, but based on cell phone data, it looks like over 80% of them were from out of the county, and over 75% of those were from at least 2 counties over. So we're talking about quite a few people coming in. We also share a very unique kind of visitor that we're bringing to the community. Our average household income of the people that purchase tickets to The Promise is over $150,000. It's very high income. They do not commit crimes, they do not drink and drive erratically. They come and they spend money, and then they go back on their way. So I think for the city of Willow Park, this is a huge opportunity. We have the spring show that is coming up. We have 12 different shows starting on the 30th of March. You can go to our website, thepromisetexas.com, and purchase your tickets there. I do want to say thank you to the city staff who helped us with the permits to get the signs up for the Christmas performance. Mayor, you coming out and supporting and speaking with the cast and the directors and everything else. Eric helped and came out as well, and making sure that Crown Road was done in time for that massive influx of people was huge for us. So we're excited to be here. We're excited to bring a lot of money to the city and a lot of high-quality visitors to patron our businesses. If you want to know the impact of The Promise, then go look at what's happening in Glen Rose. Almost every hotel motel is up for sale down there, and restaurants have been closing like crazy. What we have seen in the local restaurants, we've been partnering with Melt and some other Willow Park vendors who were selling concessions out of food trucks and been able to help them as well. So very excited about the promise. Would invite you all to come out and see it and bring a friend.
All right.
Thank
We
you for
love
your
the promise.
support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. City of Willow Park. Yep. We're very excited. Thank you, Jonathan. That is very exciting. So number 14 is racial profiling report by Commander Hamilton. That's right. Got any tickets? Right?
Tickets.
No tickets. Well, you do, but go ahead.
What you guys have before you is the 2025 racial profiling report that we submitted to the state. After reviewing the report, we have no instances of racial profiling within the city limits of Willow Park. Any questions y'all have, I answer.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
Fantastic.
We like that.
Thank you very much. All right. All right. Item 15 is to discuss and act on city council and mayor pay. Andy.
Yeah, so part of my responsibility as city attorney is to protect the city. This is a measure that would help protect the mayor and council members if they get sued for a state tort, which happens. And so under the Texas Tort Claims Act, employees, which includes public officials like the mayor and council, if they get sued and the suit could have been brought against the city as well, which oftentimes happens, if they are a paid employee, even nominally, they are entitled to dismissal from the suit, and the city then defends the suit, which has coverage, and the officials would have coverage as well through the TML risk pool. But this would help cover public officials from suit and provide immunity, and so even at a nominal amount of $5 a meeting, it would qualify for that type of coverage, and so that's why I asked this to be put on the agenda, and I recommend that the council consider this.
Okay, any discussion on that? I want my $5. That sounds great. Okay, do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we accept this. Do we set the nominal amount here tonight?
I would think so, and I don't know if there needs to be any type of budget amendment for that, but
can we go with
it would have some nominal budget effect.
Can we go as
Is that per meeting attended?
Yes.
Okay.
Could we go as low as $1 a meeting?
Yes.
I'm sorry to cut that.
Sure.
I know. I'll make a motion, we accept it if with the dollar amount, $1 per person, council and mayor per meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Who second? I'm sorry.
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we got that set. We're going to get our $1. You're going to write those checks, or what are we doing there?
Well, we get $2 because we'll have 2 meetings a month.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Don't spend it all in one
Don't
thing.
mail it, that'll cost more.
Okay, next we're moving to executive session. In accordance with the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D, the City Council will recess an executive session to discuss the following. Item 16 is 551.074, Personnel Matters, City Secretary. Number 17 is Section 551.071, Consultation with Attorney regarding City of Aledo, Texas, and City of Fort Worth, Texas versus City of Willow Park. Cause number CV 260175 in Parker County District Court, 43 District. Items, let's see, we've already done this one.
And the police investigation is not going to be part of executive session.
Yep, we have to take that off because that wasn't put in there correctly, so we're not going to do that. And we've already done 18 and 19. We don't need to discuss that again?
No.
Okay, so it is 8:43. We're going to executive session. Thank you. Okay, we're going to reconvene into open session. It is 9:43. In accordance with the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, the City of the city council will reconvene into a regular session to consider action, if any, on the matters discussed in the executive session. One of the items was to hire Andy Sims temporarily for litigation that we're having. Is there a motion?
And that's in relation to the Alito Fort Worth lawsuit under 551071, by the way.
Okay, so we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to retain Harris Finley Bogle, specifically to Andy Sims and his team in regards to representing the city of Willow Park in the current litigation between Fort Worth, Alito, and our city.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Okay, moving on to informational comments. So we'll begin with 22, city manager comments.
So it's just for public comments versus citizen comments. We just want to reiterate to the public that you do not have to be a citizen in order to make comments. So if public comments, whether you live here or not, that your voice is still heard. So that was all I want to say with that.
And do they just, as Dina was telling me, they just come and give, wherever they live, they give their address? Dina?
Yeah, just state their name and address for the record.
Okay.
That's all we would need to do is just have a record of it. Mhm.
Okay, that'd be great. So city council, mayor comments? I don't have anything.
I'm good.
Nothing. Good.
Anybody else? Okay, moving on. Okay, 24, items of community interest. Save the date, July 4th, the District of Willow Park. More details to come. Any updates? Just suspense.
It's going to be a 4th of July event that we are co-hosting with the district. And so that's going to be super exciting that Mandy and Rose are planning with the district. And so more information to come on that. We just wanted to make sure that you don't go abroad, that you can stay right here. We got fun stuff coming.
Cool.
Okay, we don't have to go to other cities.
Nope.
Look there. Okay. Item 25, future agenda items requested by mayor, city council, or city staff. I would like to have us go over the emergency management team policy update that we had touched on before. I would like to do that. Also, the city manager, get back on that meet and greet that we kind of left there. Does anybody else have anything else to add on right now, or?
I do have one comment on the city manager thing, so we need to figure out a date. One of the candidates is not available for the 10th because he is out of town on spring break. The
Right.
spring break is coming up, so.
So we need to look at different dates.
We need to look at a different date and determine if everyone else is going to be in town during the spring break time as well. That probably needs to be on the next agenda.
Okay, so we need to pick a date and kind of all of us go over that. Okay, we can do that. Okay.
I'd like one item to consider, have staff look at potentially limiting agendas to a certain number of items, potentially.
10? 10 sounds
I will
good?
let, 10 does sound
It does
amazing.
sound good?
With the potential to.
I like it.
To open it if there is need, but just let staff begin to look at that and bring forth presentation on that, potentially limiting to number
Right.
of items or a time limit, just for the sake of our staff, our citizens, our sanity.
All our sanity, yes, please. Okay, thank you. Let's do that. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Good night, thank you very much. You want to gavel?